Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic. And this morning we have an interviewee from the Post 42 American Legion in Evanston, Illinois. And he is very much involved in a program called Boys State. His name is Jim Brusek. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Obviously, you're a veteran. Can you tell us about what's your origin story? Where did you serve? What did you do for work? And how did you get to where you are today?
It's a series of mistakes that got me to where I'm at today. I was born here in Chicago, Oak Park area. I grew up on the west side. I attended Weber High School. And then I went to a college called St. Procopius way out there in Lisle, Illinois. So the first 24 years of my life was spent here. Then I joined the Illinois Army National Guard, and that's when I got to see a little bit more of the world. I ended up in the Guard on some active duty time and in the Army Reserve where I retired out of. I spent a total of 28 years in the armed forces. I started out, I was a 6-year enlisted person. I decided then that I was going to make this a career. And then I went to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School. And from that point forward, I served as a platoon leader, a company commander. I was a battalion staff officer. I was the operations and training officer. I became a battalion commander, and I became a brigade staff officer prior to my retirement. In those areas that I talked about, I was exposed to a lot of things. And in the Army, you do what you're told and you go where you're told, and that's what it is. I was very much involved. Once I retired from the Army, I had a void. I couldn't be as active as I wanted to be or as I was. I then started looking around, and because of my service, I earned a berth at the American Legion. And so I went over and I met with a couple of people at a couple of posts, and I found some posts that were there in name only. Now, they might have had a social function now and then. Evanston Post 42 is an extremely active post. And we've got something going almost every month. And so I joined with them, and as it would be, I got involved and was on the board of directors for a while. And then I went through what we call the chairs, junior vice, senior vice, finally commander. And after the command was up, I then went on to do the same thing at district. I became junior vice, senior vice, and then the commander. And now I settled in that I'm given all of my guidance and all of my direction is in the Boys State. And I'm assisting the American Legion Auxiliary as I'm talking to students. I will also talk to them about Girls State, another program that has been developed by the American Legion.
Very well. Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done. Keep going.
On the civilian side, I did 28 years in the military total time. And on the civilian side, I did 34 years with the 3M Corporation up in Minnesota. So they had me traveling, and then the military had me traveling on the weekends. So I was never around. And that just kept me very busy.
So I've known Jim for a couple of years now. I had no idea that you worked for 3M. At one point in my career, I did a little temporary stint at a manufacturer's rep that repped 3M into Ace, True Value, and Do It Best Hardware. Oh, and Granger, too. So very familiar with the products. It's a great company. And I had no idea of your length of military service. So allow me to thank you for serving the country.
It was my honor.
One of the things I'd like for you and I to do is to, and I'm going off script here, is to educate the public on what is the American Legion as opposed to the VFW and other organizations that are similar for people who served in the military. Can you tell our listeners the difference between the organizations?
That's a great question. We get confused all the time. The American Legion is the largest single organization for veterans because our enrollment occurs when there is a conflict. And according to Congress, we have been in conflict since Korea. With all the other little issues of wars, we're in a constant state of conflict. So that means people coming out of the service today that might not have been around for Afghanistan or for Iraq, they still would have the ability to join the American Legion. Obviously, VFW, they stand for Veterans of Foreign Wars. You had to serve on foreign soil and not necessarily be in combat, but, for every one person in combat, you've got something like 7 in the logistical tail. And so if you served in a foreign country, you then would qualify for the BFW. Then there's a couple of other ones that would, when we was not in the conflict, we then would be able to have them go to other sides and DAVCO, the Department of Veterans, not Department of Veterans, the veterans that have been injured. And there's a number of different groups out there, and some of them are self-limiting. One of my friends is in the Vietnam Helicopter Pilots Association. They haven't had a new person join their organization in years. It's self-limiting by the way it's set up. In the American Legion, we are open to all the branches, and right now there's 6 with Space Force. And if you've served honorably and you've got that time in, you've earned your ability to be a member of the largest single veterans organization in the world.
I did not serve in the military, nor did my father. It was kind of funny. My father went to go enlist, and he was rejected on a medical during the Korean War. And I didn't serve in the military. I served in local law enforcement. And you don't necessarily need to be in the military to be a service to the country or the community. And when I was younger, there was a program with the American Legion called SAL, Sons of the American Legion, where children or grandchildren of veterans could join. Is that still an option for people?
Yes. SAL stands for Sons of the Legion. And what it is, it's on the paternal side only. So had your father served or your grandfather on your paternal side, that's you're able to buy into that. Most SAL members, and I'm what they call a dual member. I am a paid up for life Legionnaire, and then I pay my annual dues to the SAL because my father served. And so out of respect for my father, I joined the SAL. And so the Sons of the Legion is younger. They're usually, and I don't say this in a negative way, more professional. They're guys that are hip hop with all the computers, and they know all these neat things. And they bring a level of energy that when you're 77, 80 years old, 82, you're not exactly going to be running around our kitchen trying to cook up a meal. These guys are much more energetic, and they bring a whole new life to the post. They are there to support the post. So yeah, the SAL still exists. Okay. And then there's in the American Legion family. Let's call it that. There's actually 4 different ways. You can be a Legionnaire. You can be an SAL. For the women, there is the auxiliary. Now, there's women that have served, and those women that have served are obviously in the Legion itself, but there's also the auxiliary. And then there is the Legion Riders, which they alone raise literally millions of dollars for various functions and various people that need to have financing. So the whole idea of being in the American Legion is you're still giving back to the people, to the country.
That's terrific. I mean, obviously, service is in your heart and the heart of the people who are members who consistently give back. I absolutely love it. I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRES2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show. I'd like to segue to Boys State, and there's a parallel program called Girls State. What is it? What is Boys State?
In the American Legion, we're built on what we call the 4 pillars. And those 4 pillars are Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation. It is national security, it's Americanism, and it's children and youth. The first post of the American Legion and the charter was drawn up in 1919 in Paris, France, at the end of World War I. And these men that got together to create the concept of the American Legion fought some really terrible battles, and they saw how devastating the war was. And they saw that the veterans that were coming back wounded were going to have a tough life, and there was no rehabilitation. We didn't think about that yet. National security was a tough time back then. And then Americanism, we had a war going, so everybody volunteered. I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people volunteered. But right after that, went back to a draft. And then children and youth. And the children and youth, if we don't have a good children and we don't have people that are involved in their nation, we're going to suffer down the line. So these gentlemen that put together the American Legion and got it chartered in 1919 saw what happened to children in the war, and that they were left homeless. They were left without anything. Many of the original American Legion units, and I can only speak to that. I can't speak to the VFW, but I'm sure they did similar things. They actually adopted an orphan. Post 42 adopted, believe 2 orphans, and they paid all the way through college for at least the one that I was aware of. Today, there's a tagline in the military, at least in the Army, and it says, still serving. And even when we're done being on duty, we're still serving in some way, shape, or form. Well, the same thing with the American Legion. We're still serving our communities, okay? and that's where Americanism comes in. Veterans Affairs, that's where, again, we're serving our community. We go up and we visit the hospitals that civilians never go see. And we go up and visit those type of soldiers, and we make sure that sailors, airmen, whatever it might be, that they've got the best that we can provide for them as far as a government goes. So based upon the 4 pillars, programs were developed under Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation. Programs were developed under National Security. The American Legion, at least in the hierarchy, we have brought many, many bills to Congress to help with veterans, help with families, help with the Dole Act. It might be a one you think of. They took care of the veteran, and it takes its toll on that partner, that spouse. And then Americanism and children and youth. So under those 4 headings, we've developed a number of programs. Under children and youth, Boys State was started here in Illinois in 1935. It was a bunch of guys that got together and said, we're fighting fascism, we're fighting racism, we're fighting all these different things, and we're not doing a good job of getting to our youth. So they developed a program called Boys State, and it has been at Eastern Illinois University since the concept. This year, this is going to be the 88th session of Boys State, and it will be from June 7th to June 13th. So we had to drop it down for a couple of years because of World War II. We ran into conflict with COVID, but the program is very, very strong. In Illinois, we are referred to as the premier Boys State because it was founded here. We were the first. And as we all know, there's 50 states in our nation. All but one has a Boys State and Girls State program. I'll let you take a guess as to which one does not have a program.
I'm curious. I want to say Hawaii, maybe?
You are absolutely correct.
Wow, I didn't expect that. I'm never right.
Most people say Alaska.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I said Hawaii, but I'm never right. Ask my wife.
That's why we all have wives.
That's right. So one of the things I've seen, and I'm kind of on social media, is a lot of times people just don't understand how government works. They have their opinion and they take little tidbits out of what they think is in the Constitution or the state laws, and they really try to mold it to fit their own opinion. It's one of the things that drives me nuts. Oh, Trump's going to serve a 3rd term. Well, not unless there's a constitutional amendment and 3/4 of the country approve it. No, he's going to... That's not how the law works. So can you dive into what is Boys State and Girls State?
When I talk to students, one of the first questions that I ask them is, what type of government are we here in the United States? And you'd be shocked by the answers that we get. All right. And we know from a basis that the students don't understand our form of government. So now the program was developed to help explain that. What they do is, for high school students, junior to senior year, it's like having tickets to the World Series. The game's going to get played whether you're there or not. And it is a participatory program in which the students learn by doing. And they become part of the operation of a city, county, and state government, all fictional. All right. It's now a national program, and it again is there because we know that our students today are lacking the depth of how deep our government goes. So when you show up, and I always tell the boys this, we provide buses to take the boys to and from Eastern Illinois University. And some boys do drive and they buddy up with their buddies. But your boys' state experience will start on the bus. And so at Boys State, the participants learn the rights and the privileges and the responsibilities of citizenship. If more Americans understood those three, we would see a lot bigger turnout on every election, not just the major elections. They're fictional political parties. Usually they're created with the names of some of the counselors. And the citizens are randomly assigned to one of those. It's a non-partisan in the sense of U.S. or Illinois political parties. It's non-partisan. We don't talk about that. The hands-on political and government elements of the program center around creating and facilitating city, county, and state governments. And if you've ever been involved with any of those, all three of those things are different monsters. You know, they might have some similarity, but yet they're all different. You might have a mayor who's part-time, but you have a city, he's not a clerk, I'm trying to think what they call him, but he runs the city.
City manager.
City manager, there
Right.
you go. And so, you know, again, most people don't know all these things. Boys' state activities include various levels of legislative sessions, political party caucuses, again, these fictional political parties, 4 different election cycles, general assemblies, a band concert, and I'll get back to that in a minute, law enforcement presentations, recreational programs, and so much more. Your days are very, very packed. And the lessons learned led to the tagline that we use for Boys State. And basically what it says is, give us 1 week and it will change your life forever. Because you're going to learn so much out of that. So it can only happen between your junior and senior year. Our biggest conflict is getting to the students. Now, I will tell you, I live here in urban America. My counterparts down in rural America, it's so much different because usually the VFW post in those towns or the American Legion post in those towns, they are the center of the town. Weddings happen there, parties happen there, you know, all those sort of things. It's right there at the post. So when my counterparts down there want to talk to the students, they go to the school, and usually somebody like the sports director, sets up a meeting and brings all the teams in, and we make 1 or 2 presentations to maybe 100 students, and we ask the coaches and we ask the guidance counselors and we ask the teachers, tell us who your leaders are. And then tell us who your indirect leaders, who are behind the leaders but are guiding them and showing them what to do. Those are the people that this is going to become a very formative program for them. Here in urban America, we show them pictures and we do different things. And one of the first pictures you'll see if you go onto the Boys State and/or the Girls State doesn't have this, but the Boys State website does, is that we have called an honor guard. And these are 7 boys that when they get there, volunteer to be the honor guard. And they learn everything there is to learn about the flag. hoisting the flag, lowering the flag, folding the flag. And it's not because they wear a helmet liner and it's honor guard. They're the first ones up in the morning. They're the last ones to bed at night. And because some people see those pictures, they think we're trying to militarize their children. And we're not. We're just showing the distinction between the student population and the honor guard, and exactly the reverence that we should pay to our nation's colors. And I would tell you that a lot of people, and we see this all the time, when they get there and we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and they're not exactly paying attention, their hands not over their heart, and most of them get their cap off because they're told to. But by the end of the week, they're doing it because that's how you're supposed to address our nation's colors. So we see changes in the course of the week, and we hope that we've got it deep enough into the soul of the students that they will carry that forward. Again, it's one of these things where there's so much to do. And somewhere over here, I had it written down, and I don't know if I still have it here, because I never would have sat down and figured this out. What's in a week, it's called. And it says here, we pack a lot into the 10,080 minutes during our week in June. While there is always fun and a downtime for our program packs so many experiences, it often is called, it's like life-changing. We start the Saturday before Flag Day and end the Friday before Father's Day. And in between, our citizens will be the busy, have fun, and learn by doing. It's not a summer camp. It's never been designed to be a summer camp. It's been designed to teach and to learn, like it says, by doing what is expected of us as citizens.
Folks, those two websites to go to are IllinoisBoysState.org. That is Illinois spelled out, ILLINOIS, boys, BOYS, state.org. And the one for the girls' state is ALAIGS.org. That is ALAIGS.org. We need to take a little break, but we're going to be continuing the conversation after this. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.